This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.
Well, he's our homeboy from the Boogie Down Bronx. He's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. He's got 39 top 40 hits, including songs that everybody knows in the world, like Runaround Sue, Ruby Baby, Lovers Who Wander, Abraham Martin and John, The Wanderer. There's a Broadway-bound show called The Wanderer, which we want to talk about. It's coming to the Paper Mill Playhouse, I think in April of 2021. But he's got a new album, 15 all-new songs. It's called Blues with Friends. And my God, talk about friends. We're going to talk about Bruce Springsteen, Jeff Beck, Billy Gibbons, Van Morrison, Paul Simon, many more on the album with him. The album is #1 on the blues charts. Dion DiMucci, it is an honor to speak with you, sir. How are you, man?
It's a joy to be with you. I'm good. Just great to see you. And hey, here we are.
Well, so you are in Florida. The first question is, are you okay? Coronavirus free, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I live in a good place right now. You know, I'm doing what everybody else is doing, trying to, do the deal. I live on a lake, so when I go out, I see kids on their roller skates, their skateboards, their bicycles, they're following their parents. Young girls are talking to their parents. They're not on their cell phones. So some good stuff is happening.
Well, I have a confession to make to you, sir. Back in 1989, I was working at Arista Records when an album called Yo Frankie came out. And I worked that album for you. In fact, I accompanied you and your good friend Lou Reed to a photo shoot for Musician Magazine. You probably don't remember that, but I remember how much I loved King of the New York Streets, man.
That was a lot of fun. A lot of fun with Lou. That was great fun. I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him. Good friend.
I want to get to this new album, but first let's talk about the Broadway-bound show, The Wanderer. I know you're excited about this, and this was supposed to be happening like now, right? But now it's been pushed back for a year.
Yeah, it's fine because I mean it's still all there. It's not going anywhere. It might even be better timing. Charles Messina wrote a story that, I kid you not, Jonathan, it took me on a trip. I love taking people on a trip, but it's like early street rock and roll. It's action, romance, betrayal, overcoming betrayal, victory. There's a lot of laughs, a lot of great music that I was involved in. So I tell you, call me when it's at Paper Mill. Be my guest. It's gonna take you on a trip.
Well, I grew up in Jersey. That's not too far from where my mother lives. God bless her. So maybe we'll take in the show. So it's a show sort of like, when I hear you talk about it, I think of, say, Green Day's American Idiot or Pete Townshend's Tommy, Jersey Boys, Four Seasons. Is it like that or is it different?
It's different. It's different. It's a rock and roll. It's a story about transformation, a story about redemption. Not getting better, not getting good. It's getting transformed. You know what I mean? It's about being fully alive. And it's about a romance because, I'm still married to my wife. I met her on the streets of the Bronx when I was 16 years old. She was 14 and we're still together. This girl's easy to take. She moved down from Vermont. I didn't know they grew anything as beautiful as her up in Vermont. I was the first 16-year-old stalker in the Bronx. I used to follow her. I'd say, Earth Angel, get out of here,
That's amazing. You should get an award for that in itself. You've been married for how long? Is it 40-something years?
57 years. And I've known her for 65 years. She's easy to take, I mean, she's not perfect like anybody else, but she's a great girl, we get along.
I want to get to this new album, Blues with Friends. #1 album, Dion. That must feel pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, hey, what could I say? It makes you feel good.
And Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I had these, I was working on the play and I had these 14 songs that I was writing while I was working on the play. And I got 2 months off and I went in and cut them. I knocked out, excuse me, all the tracks in 3 days. And Joe Bonamassa had come over my house and I played him a few tracks. He said, I want to play on that one. So I said, be my guest. He played on it. Let me tell you something. He just blew my mind because, I could make a great record. I write a great song. I know how to sing it. I know how to communicate it. But when you get a great artist who's mesmerizing and masterful and just a master of it, very distinctive sound, and he infuses your song with his concept, it just blew my mind. And I think it's fair to say that he was the catalyst that kind of sparked the vision for the album, because once he played on it, I thought, man, imagine if I could get some other friends who are as good as Joe, these great guitar players who you can't compare one with another, like Brian Setzer from Stray Cats. Who plays like Brian Setzer? I'll tell you who. Nobody.
Brian Setzer plays like Brian. That's it.
That's right. He, so the next song that I was playing the stuff in my truck. I'm riding around. I'm thinking, bam, bang, boom. I got to send that to Billy Gibbons. He's like John Lee Hooker on steroids. Yeah. So I send it to Bill. He says, yes. Then I had this ballad and I'm thinking, who could play on this? And I thought Jeff Beck is the only guy who can make me cry when he plays guitar. I heard him do Puccini's aria, La Traviata, and it just rips your heart out. It's like, so I sent him this ballad and he said yes. When he said yes, I knew I was onto something. I thought, I'm just going to keep going. And I kept, Jonathan, it was like I was casting people for like mini movies. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like that. So I get him. And then when I had this one song, it was like a gospel tune. And I thought, I got to get Patti Scialfa to sing on this because she's like the Jersey soul girl. She has this just amazing, distinctive soul voice, and I thought she could sing on some of these lines, maybe echo some lines I'm singing. And I sent it to her and she loved the song. And what she did, and this is the whole deal with this album, it's kind of crazy because I didn't ask anybody to do anything. I just gave them the song and they're artists. So she kind of starts stacking vocals on it and she captured the wind of the Holy Spirit or something, and then she has Bruce to come in. He comes in with the guitar and says, I got an idea for a solo, and he plays a solo on it. And it was in December, it was like a gift to me, it was beautiful. So the whole album, as I was doing it, it was very exciting. It was, I wasn't uptight about it. I wasn't anxious about it. It's like I caught this wave and just kept riding it. It was a lot of fun and exciting because every time one of these great artists do something for you, it's like, wow, it's mind-blowing. It really is. It's truly mind-blowing. That's how good, these people, it's just, I could make a great record, but I can't do that. I'm limited. I found out how limited I was.
Well, here's what's not limiting to me. I don't know how you do it. I know you've been, living the clean and sober life for many, many years now, but your voice is still like right there, man. It's just, I don't know how you do it because, look, you get older and sometimes your voice fades. It's not as strong, but like you hit these high notes, like no problem. I mean, is there any secret to that?
I talked to Paul Simon about it. One day I told Paul, I said, I sing better than ever, but I don't sing like I used to sing. I don't have that innocent sweet sound, maybe. But I said, Paul, you do. What do you do to step? Because he still has that innocent, sweet, just beautiful, ethereal kind of, voice. And I don't know. I guess he's conscious of not doing the bad things. I don't smoke, I don't drink. So I guess you could say I've been living the clean life, and I think that helps because that could get you husky, so. But I don't do it consciously. I'm rigatoni and cheese. Give me rigatoni. I just want rigatoni bolognese. That's my right arm, and then cannolis my left arm.
That's perfect. There is no better analogy than that. Dion DiMucci is with us. His new album, Blues with Friends. It's on KTBA Records. Keep the Blues Alive, and this is definitely a blues record. Bob Dylan, your friend, wrote the liner notes. Now, he is someone that we rarely hear or see unless he's on the stage, but he took the time to write these liner notes, and I want to read part of them. Dylan writes about you on the back of the album. With a vaudevillian father and the doo-wop street corners of the Bronx as teachers, Dion learned early on that the way to be heard and reach hearts was to sing in his own rhythmic voice. And when you have a voice as deep and wide as Dion's, that voice can take you all the way around the world and then all the way back home to the blues. And you've known Bob, you and him go way back, right?
Yeah, I was the first rock and roll artist signed to Columbia Records. And, I was doing Ruby Baby, by the way, which is a blues song, The Wanderer, Run Around Sue. And Bob got signed right after I came up. And I was at a lot of his sessions, when he did Highway 61 and all that. It was crazy. Tom Wilson was my producer, was his producer. So we became friends back then. But, a lot of us know that Bob Dylan is the greatest songwriter of the 20th century and beyond. What did he win? A Pulitzer Prize, Nobel Prize? He's when I read his book, I said, man, he's who we think he is. He knows how to put words to a page. So and the other thing that people don't say about him, but I say, it's in my head, that he's a great blues singer. A lot of people don't know that, but he has great sensitivity to the blues. It's like the foundation of what he does, I think. And, I asked him, I had given the songs out to everybody. The album was completed, and I thought, who would know about writing about, blues at depth? And I thought, well, this guy, he knows he could put words together. So I sent him the album, and he loved it. And he sent back some. He was very generous. Sent back, and he mentions in the liner notes that I know how to fashion a song. And I thought, wow, Bob Dylan said that. I'll take it.
Tell me a story. Tell us a story about Bob that we never have heard before. Maybe it was back in 1962 in a recording studio. Do you have one that immediately comes to mind?
Well, you're not going to believe this, but maybe it has more to do with, Tom Wilson brought me into the studio one day at Columbia, and he said, listen to this. And he was playing Maggie's Farm. He was playing Dylan with his acoustic guitar. And he said, what do you think if we get some of the guys that are on your records, like Charlie Smalls and Tito Wilshire, and we get Milt Tilton, and we get, Styx Evans on drums. We'll bring them in and let them play on Maggie's Farm, one of these songs. We'll see what Dylan thinks. And I thought Bob was going to blow up, I thought he was a purist that, never going to. But we went in one December, cold December back there in 64, I think it was. We went into one of the Columbia studios, and we ran, one of these songs by these guys, and they just, put instrumentation on it, and Tom played it. Tom Wilson played it for Bob. He loved it. And the next album, the next thing I know, the next session I'm in, he's like, all the guys are there, and he's rocking out, man. It looked like somebody let him out of a cage.
Maggie's Farm blues song. Maggie's Farm, you know, you could call that a blues song.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like from the very beginning, you know, he, yeah, it's, he's been a gem for all of us, giving us a lot. You know, the blues, it's a community. We listen together. We play together. We sometimes live together. You know, I always say you're never alone with the blues. It's a tradition, and it's a living tradition. It's a passing on. It's a handing down. But like on this album, I asked a girl named Samantha Fish. Maybe there's a lot of my fans that don't know her, but she's a 30-year-old blues guitarist who just breathes new life into the blues. I mean, she takes that tradition and takes it to a higher pitch, a higher level. She's something else. When I asked her to play on this one song, I mean, she is steeped into the history of the blues. She said, could I do a rhythm part with she had a cigar box guitar. She said, I want to do a Northern Mississippi rhythm part on it. I said, go ahead. She put it on. Then she said, I'm going to play a lead. When she played the lead, Jonathan, if I put that much emotion and that much passion into anything, I wouldn't be able to walk for 6 weeks. I kid you not. I felt like she was ripping my heart out of my chest without anesthesia, and I liked it. Incredible.
What was it that B.B. King said? He said, I'm going to paraphrase here. I think he said, I've never enjoyed playing something so sad that makes me so happy about the blues, or something like that, right?
Yeah, like it feels so good to sing about something so bad or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, something like that.
Dion DiMucci is with us. Blues with Friends is the new album. Dion, looking at your life, you know, and please don't take offense to this, but looking at your life, it's like a movie. It's like I'm watching Forrest Gump. You know, it's like you have been at the epicenter of many of these amazing, you know, events in the history of rock and roll. And I gotta mention it. People don't know that you were on the Winter Dance Party tour with Buddy Holly and the Big Bopper, Ritchie Valens, who died in the plane. And you were actually asked to be on that plane on that night, right?
Yeah, 1959. Yeah. I still miss those guys. They were just fabulous guys. You know, they great songwriters, great men, just good guys. You know, I still miss them on a lot of levels. They inspired me on a lot of levels. You know, Buddy Holly told me once, I don't know how to succeed, but I know how to fail. You want to fail? Try to please everybody. You can't do it. You're going to fail. So I think if he didn't tell me that, I probably never would have recorded Run Around Sue or The Wanderer. But they were good men. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dion, do you have a Beatles story by any chance?
Well, I do. I met, I wish I had pictures to show you, but I met John Lennon and Ringo in a clothing store on 57th Street. 1964, they had, Sid Bernstein had brought them in from the UK to play at Carnegie Hall. And John was looking to buy a leather jacket in this store on 57th Street. I lived on 57th Street at the time.
What was the store, you remember?
What?
You remember the name of the store?
No, I don't, but I still have the jacket. I go inside and get it for you, but I still have the jacket. I got to get it unstiffed. It's a little, but he wore his jacket on rubber sole, and we bought the same jacket. And I had asked him, I said, you know, he knew who I was, and he said, "We love Ruby Baby. We love that song. We sang it in Hamburg when we, you know, they were honing their skills as a young band back then." And he loved Ruby Baby. So I always thought, being he told me that in some way, in my mind, I think that's why he cut out, or they took the picture off of the cover of Ruby Baby and used my face on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album. In fact, Bob Dylan and I are the only two rock and rollers on the cover of that album.
That is fantastic. Let me ask you about this. Do you have a Rolling Stones story?
Well, I do. You know, I met Mick Jagger on same place, 57th Street. He was in a restaurant, and we talked. And I was really, you know, it's not an exciting story, but you know, they always call it the British invasion. I never did. I always called it the British infusion, because you know, when I talked to Mick Jagger, those guys would sit around a record player and play a Jimmy Reed record for a whole week. They would play, you know, Take Some Insurance Out on Me, Baby, for a whole week, just to learn the turnaround and where the bass laid and how the sounds, and that's why they're so good. That's how they went to school. There's no college for that. So they listened to records more intently than I did. I kind of just got it through osmosis, you know. I love Jimmy Reed, but you know, I knew how, they weren't even into rock and roll. They were into the blues. So I called it the British infusion.
Speaking of Jimmy Reed, do you know that Bob Dylan has a song about Jimmy on his new album?
I have to listen to it. He deserves a song.
Goodbye, Jimmy Reed. It's fantastic. You're going to love it. Last one about bands and things like that. Do you have a Led Zeppelin story by any chance?
Well, Led Zeppelin, you know, every time I see, not Jimmy Page, but Robert Plant, every time I see Robert Plant, he loves Lovers Who Wander. So every time I see him, he, instead of just saying hi Dion, he's always like dan dan da 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 dan da 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 dan dan da. You know, that's his way of shaking my hand. You know, and he starts going whoa whoa whoa. You know, and he starts. He loves the song Lovers Who Wander, and he comes to a lot of my shows. You know, and that guy's a bona fide rock star. Let me tell you, he's good.
Dion DiMucci with us, a new album, Blues with Friends. The Wanderer, a Broadway-bound show coming to the Paper Mill Playhouse in Jersey in April of 2021. You know, I was watching the show Dion Ozark on Netflix last night, and at the end of one of the episodes of the new season, they're playing a Dion DiMucci song. Do you know that?
They play another one that I'm so happy that they play. It's one that Phil Spector put together called Only You Know, that Jerry Goffin wrote, you know, Carole King's husband. And they also play Drip Drop. Yeah, I didn't get through the series, but everybody tells me about those two songs.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of it. It was just so great. What a nice surprise. Let's get back to Jeff Beck, because I want to play that song, Can't Start Over Again, that features Jeff Beck on the new album. But I know that you were a fan going way back of Hank Williams. So the first question is, did you watch Ken Burns' Country Music?
Oh, loved it. Just sure I did. Yeah. Loved it, especially the first 5 episodes. Just, you know, loved every minute of it. Yeah, that's, you want to know, in a lot of ways, that's at the heart of a lot of what I do, because when I was a kid, I fell in love with Hank Williams. He changed my life. I heard him sing The Pictures from Life's Other Side. I heard him sing Honky Tonk Blues. I wanted to communicate like Hank Williams, and I wanted to groove like Jimmy Reed. You know, Jimmy Reed had that roll. And Hank Williams had that. he would like at the end of a sentence, if there was a word like yeah, he would bite it and rip it off. He was so committed to what he was saying emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally. He was so dedicated. I wanted to feel like that and do that, because as a kid, you know, those songs, they go into you and they make a left and a right, and they just do something to your insides. And I wanted to be a part of that. It got me on the road to doing what I do. I love taking people on a trip, because those guys changed my life, you know, changed my life. I wouldn't be talking to you today, right? If it wasn't for Jimmy Reed and all those guys, you know.
Well, we're going to play Can't Start Over Again, that features Jeff Beck on the new album from Dion DiMucci, Blues with Friends. Again, everyone go out and buy this record. It's fantastic. I'm thinking Grammys here, Dion. I'm seriously thinking Grammys here.
From your lips to God's ears.
And don't forget about The Wanderer, the Broadway-bound show coming to the Paper Mill Playhouse in Short Hills, New Jersey, April 2021. I'm definitely going to go see that. Dion, I can't tell you what an honor it's been speaking with you. And look, I want this all to be over. I want you to come to New York City, play a show. I want us all clapping in the aisles. I mean, I can't wait.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Again, I hope, yes, we'll do that. I got great hope in doing that.
Thank you, Dion.
I'll see you there, Jonathan. Thank you for the time, man. Appreciate it.
This is Out of the Box with your host, Jonathan Clark. Out of the Box, Sunday nights at 9 on Q1043.